So here we are on the other side of the air prune bed, and I wanted to mention, if you're building these, make sure you use thicker mesh than we did. I'm not sure if this is gonna hold, hence why I put on the sides like a double mesh, but it's kind of thin, so it's gonna hold, but in time I think it might snap, so I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, my advice is to get a thicker mesh. The holes are enough, so they're not too big, so no critters can go through, like rats and stuff like that, so that's good. But I would buy something thicker than this. But yeah, we'll fill them in up to 10 inches with soil, kind of like Hugelkultur Mound style, with like thicker branches on the bottom. They will have plenty of time to decompose, and then the soil and the cob nuts on top, and then at the end maybe I'll add a layer of wood chips, kind of to hold the soil, protect it so we don't have bare soil. Obviously we'll have the seeds, but still I would like to add a layer of wood chips. So yeah, I'm not sure how many seeds they're gonna hold, but they should have room for quite a lot at 2.5 meters in length and 125 meters in width. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's gonna be a lot of soil sifting today. Here's what the soil sifting involves. We take from there with a shovel, put the soil mixed with stones and probably broken pieces of glass, put it here, sift it, goes in the bucket. There's only a little bit of soil at the moment in there from yesterday, and then we empty that in there. But during that process we put pieces of glass and rocks. There's only rocks in here, like this sizes. So yeah, it's going slowly, but once we have nice soil in the boxes, it will make it much easier for future gardening for the nursery. And here we have a box for the strawberries. We had a couple of hundreds of hazel saplings growing in last season in this bathtub, but which has holes on the bottom. I drilled some holes when I made it, and this year we're gonna plant strawberries. I ordered 13 strawberry plants, rendezvous variety, supposed to be a very good variety. So I prepared the holes. There's 13 of them. Here we have planted some hazels. One sprouted. They're from last year that didn't sprout last season, and they started sprouting this year. So we have a few hazel seeds in here up to here, hence the stick. And I'll put the strawberry plants when they arrive next week in those holes. And at the end I will cover this with mesh, but it's not necessary to do it now or soon after planting. It's of most importance to do it when the strawberries are formed, they're still green, and before the birds start pecking on them, to protect them. So I'll put a mesh on top, put some stones probably. Obviously it would be much better if it was like constant, so we can just put it in as a structure, but for this year that's what I'm going to do. It's the easiest thing. The soil will go down a bit more, so hopefully the strawberries will have plenty of room to grow in. But yeah, I started the video about the air prune beds. So yeah, I really need to start doing fill them with the branches. I'll show you the branches. So this here is material that started decomposing. This from previous years that I've been pruning around these trees. They're all here. Some are a bit covered by the stones, but once I take these, they'll be fine. So these will go in the boxes. I'll probably snap some of the longer ones as well. And yeah, these were stored here by the shed, and they decomposed a bit in the last 2 years or so since I cut them. in the autumn of 2022. Some of them last year and previous year. So that's good material we can use to decompose, and will make more space here in the garden as well. So we'll put this in the boxes, some of this as well. As you can see, ideally like this size would be best because it would decompose faster. So in a couple of times, by the time the roots of the hazel saplings reach the bottom or the last layer in the box, these should be pretty much crumbly wood, so the roots of the hazels won't have a lot of restriction. Nothing much will be blocking their growth. They will have nice, good soil, rich soil, and rich wood at the base, which will help them grow a lot. It's like in a forest, you know. That's the idea of the Hugelkultur design, about which I wrote a little book titled Miss Camelia and the Hugelkultur Mound, how Miss Camelia found her smile again. So yeah, this is it. Since the video ended up being quite long, I'll show you a little bit from this other side of the garden. We have lots of tulips here. We also have some on the front. I put some terracotta blocks to step on them, so we don't step everywhere on the plants as they're growing. We have some currants here starting to leaf out. Beautiful tulips, not edible but pretty, offering a lot of color in the garden. We have lots of nettles in there, which are definitely edible and delicious once they're cooked. But here we have the stars. Look at this. This is the bonanza peach. It's starting to bloom. Beautiful pinkish blooms. I can't wait for all these to open up. They're gonna look so beautiful. I don't know if we'll have peaches this season, but yeah, because I did some research and apparently these trees don't like being in the rain a lot. They need protection, otherwise they might catch some sort of disease. But yeah, I had already planted it, and we'll see how it does for this year. If not, we'll move it in the polytunnel for next year. Hopefully it will do well outside, but yeah, I don't know. It will be very pretty once it will be in full bloom. And here, carrying on, we have the dwarf apple tiny apple, which is also starting to bud out. I'm not sure if it's going to focus well because their buds are so small, but you can see here the buds starting to open up. Can't wait. This tree should make small, like crab apple size apples, red ones, but they're supposed to be sweet and delicious. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. And here we have, I put some stones yesterday. I added some more sifted soil, and I might add some more depending on how much is left after I do the airprune boxes. I usually plant the spring onions here, so I want to raise the level to the same level as here. It was a bit of a slope. Here was higher. We had a large ornamental tree here which we cut, and by the way, here I dug some holes, one here and one by the airprune bed. So we'll be planting here 2 persimmon trees, a Nikita's Gift and a Rosianka Russian Beauty. So I want to keep them up to 2 meters lower than that, like short, so they don't shade too much, and also because it's going to be a lot of wind in this area. Persimmon trees need a lot of sun, so it's a good location. I think the soil was very rich there while I dug, but yeah, they will have some protection from the wind because of this. The box is there, but the idea with keeping the persimmon trees small is we can reach the fruits, and yeah, I like that. I'm quite short, so yeah, it would be nice to have beautiful trees here, and they will also be very ornamental. The foliage turns reddish, orangey reddish in the autumn, supposedly. I haven't grown one yet. It will be my first year, but more on that in future videos. We're waiting for the trees. They should be delivered next week, around the same time as the strawberries probably. Yeah, the polytunnel is there being constructed. Here is the state of the polytunnel at the moment. Lots of rocks in there, massive ones in here. Maybe you've seen previous clips about this. So we have a lot of digging to do in here. We need to plant the seeds, so we have what to put in the polytunnel once it's finished. But yeah, I'm very excited about the strawberries because I planted some last year and previous year, and first year the soil wasn't great where I planted them. The grass took over them, but they're still holding on, but not all of them. And last year I planted like 50 of them, but the birds were pecking on them because they didn't have any protection. This year we should certainly have strawberries if I do what I said I will do, and that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, hydration here for when we'll be thirsty. So yeah, okay, this is quite a lot. Oh yeah, here's the other hole, which I dug it very crumbly soil. I dug it quite deeply and widely because I want to put the persimmon tree here. It helps to have 2 persimmon trees nearby. The ones I got, they're self-fertile, but from what I read, it helps to have 2 nearby, which will also make them have seed. Some people might not like that, they might want the fruit without seeds, but since we're also a nursery, I would like to grow some persimmon trees of my own and graft them in the future, perhaps. A goal for the future. But yeah, I decided to put them close to each other. I was also considering putting them in the polytunnel, but they might get quite wide. So I don't know, I think having having peach trees like the bonanza I showed you might be a better option in the polytunnel. We'll see how the persimmon does outside. But yeah, here we have the currents waking up. So hopefully this area now will have more room, more light, I mean, because I cut that tree which was ornamental. I think we didn't have any fruits. We haven't noticed any since we moved here the last couple of years. So I cut that down. You can still see it's still shading a bit because all the branches which I will chop, but yeah, it's much lighter now. Still we'll get the foliage in a couple of weeks from these taller trees there in the distance, but hopefully we won't have as much shade as we did last year in this area, because that's why I put that box there last year. It was the sunniest spot. So we'll see how it does, and we should have room for another box here. It'll be nice so 3 boxes, be nice symmetrical. And yeah, there's more nettles in there. I had to move all the snowdrops that were growing underneath there, because once we fill in the boxes they'll be very heavy to move. And another thing, I'll try to put some of these blocks underneath the legs of the beds to raise them up a bit in case we'd like to grow mushrooms underneath in the shade. We need room for that, so this is not enough at the moment unless we put very little, like small boxes with mycelium in here. But yeah, if we raise the boxes a bit more, it will give us more space, so we don't waste all this underneath space, because if we cover it and we don't put anything else underneath, we won't access it. But yeah, there's lots of projects going on, lots of exciting things. But yeah, the prune beds, I really hope they will hold. Ideally we would have used thicker mesh as mentioned previously, but yeah, because the thing is, why I'm concerned is the soil is not as heavy once it's just sifted soil. So if we put it here with the branches, they're not that heavy, but once it rains and once we water all this soil that's going to be up to here or so, because we have 6 inches up to here, all these slabs, the wooden planks are like 6 inches each. We put 2 on top, so that's 12 inches, and I'll plant up to here or so we leave them a bit of protection from wind. We don't plant all the way up to here, so up to here, depending on how much soil I'll be able to sift, at least up to here we need at least 6 inches or so. That's a minimum. So yeah, once we have this whole box filled with soil and we water the coconuts so they grow, and it rains from above, obviously, that soil is gonna be so much heavier, so much heavier. So yeah, I am concerned it might not hold. I am hoping it will, because it has these wooden planks my husband put in because he built the box mostly. I only added these ones at the end because I really wanted this protection on that side as well. But oh, here's one. Good, I found this so it doesn't end up in the garden. We might step on it. We might add another protection underneath, either vertically like this, or some support underneath here from underneath, just to hold like some legs, so like we have there, some legs in the middle here, and here, just to hold this, because it's gonna be a lot of soil and these are gonna hold quite well. These planks he put nails in, you know, good support. Like I'm pressing and it's not falling, but in time, you know, with all that soil, it's really good to do it well in advance. So because if it's not done well, then I'll have to take all the soil out to redo the bottom and refill it. So that's, as you can imagine, I'm sure it's not something I'm excited to do. I'd rather do it properly from the beginning, even if it goes slower. But yeah, the weather is quite nice today. It was drizzling earlier. I was a bit concerned about that, but it's fine. Hopefully it will rain after we plant the seeds. It'll be perfect timing. But if it rains, it's good for the potatoes, which I already planted. So yeah, I'll show you the potatoes a bit actually. Here's another one of these. There are like stones in here from the sifted soil I sorted. I'm not sure if you can see it. You can see now it is all stones. So going through this and obtaining the soil, which is nice to grow in, and we'll see what we can use these rocks, smaller rocks, stones in the garden. But yeah, here is a potato patch. We have wood chips. Here we have one raspberry cane. It looks like something stepped around there. Hopefully it didn't steal the potatoes. It doesn't seem like it went really deep, so hopefully that's okay. Yeah, some sort of animals. But yeah, I might put some more wood chips on top, but I'll probably wait for the potatoes to emerge. In this section there weren't the best potatoes. There were some that sprouted but were kind of mushy almost, like not hard potatoes. On that side there are smaller ones but hard, but like baby potatoes. So ideally I would like to have potatoes like we planted between those two stones up to like here, to these stones here. Those are King Edward potatoes and they're like fist size or even bigger than my fist. So those should make really nice potatoes, but we'll see. For this year they're all in the sun, planted in the same space, the same area, unlike previous years when we had some potatoes there, which is kind of sunny but also a bit shaded because of the large trees. We also had some in that area, and that's a lot of shade as well, but because the soil is slightly better there than it was here when we had just lawn. Now we added the wood chips, so we're getting the soil richer. But this year I decided to plant it just so we see, because there's a bit of a challenge. I say that the biggest potatoes we can get are from the largest ones. So other people say that we can also get them from like smaller, like baby potatoes. If we plant them, we'll get nice potatoes. I don't think so. We might get nice potatoes, but they won't be like massive big ones. They can't, but we don't know. So it's an experiment. Since they will be growing all in the sun here, will be no excuse. We'll be able to do a comparison perfectly. So we'll see, and then the next year we'll know what kind of potatoes to plant, so we get the best harvest. But yeah, you can see here it took me a while to sift all this soil, and as you can see they're not even the size of the one air prune bed, so a lot of soil sifting I have to do. Okay, time to start filling the boxes. Hopefully the next video will have this box ready.